Nerdly presents the feed where the reels unwind. Off the real podcast, digging deep in the grind. 80 flicks, low cash, big dreams in the frame. No blockbuster hype, just the realest in the game. Reviews so sharp, we cut through the noise.
Hello everybody and welcome back to Nerdly Presents Off the Reel. This is an Off the Reel review, and tonight we are talking about the movie The Home. It's a horror/thriller with Pete Davidson. Exactly why I wanted to watch it. I thought the last horror that he made was The Crow remake, but it turns out that was Bill Skarsgård that played Pennywise. I know it wasn't Pete Davidson, but he was doing his best Pete Davidson impression, and this movie kind of proves that. It's a horror thriller, kind of a little bit low budget, not much of a budget to it, directed by James DeMonaco, who you may know from, I'm pretty sure he wrote Purge 1, 2, and 3. I think he may have directed one of them, I'm not 100% certain, but he did write some of those Purge movies. I am a massive fan of those Purge movies. As I say, my name is Kevin Halden, and this is Nerdly Presents Off the Reel. You all know that I like to cover the big budget, the low budget, and the no budget. This one does have a budget, of course, because you've got the likes of Pete Davidson in there. I will do what I normally do, and that is to talk about the plot of the movie. Boy, howdy, we're going to have to talk about this plot. Then I'll get into the cast and the crew of the movie. Then I'll talk a little bit about what I did and didn't like about the movie. It's a bit of a mixed bag. Then I'll get into my final Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating. That is just my rating though. You can always go over to the website nerdly.co.uk and check out what other people over there are thinking about this movie. But of course, when it comes to nerdly.co.uk, apart from Phil, my voice is probably the loudest and the most important. And we will start with the IMDb synopsis, because that always gives us a good place to start, and then we can move from there. I'll dive a little bit deeper into it after that. The Home follows Max, who realizes that the residents and the caretakers in the retirement home he started working at hides sinister secrets. Of course it does. So we're going to dive a tad deeper into that. And we meet Max, who has grown up in a foster home, and he's kind of got this foster brother called Luke that he's really attached to. We figure this out in the early goings of the movie. Max has actually lost Luke. Luke has taken his own life. This has devastated Max over the years, and it's something he's never quite been able to get over. So it has kind of hindered his growing up. It has hindered him getting on in life, and it's turned him to a little bit more of a life of crime. A road he may have already been going down, but it did seem like Luke maybe had him on the straight and narrow. We skip ahead, we meet him as a grown-up, and he's doing some graffiti on the wall. He's an amazing graffiti artist, by the way. I was kind of hoping we may have done something a little bit extra with this part of the storyline, but it kind of just goes to the wayside for the most part. So he's doing some graffiti, he gets caught by the police, and of course this is one of those one last strike kind of things. That's it, you're out, you're going to jail. But his foster father, his foster dad, is able to talk to the judge, pull some strings, and basically say, look, don't send him to jail. We'll do something else with him. We'll try and rehabilitate him. We'll try and get him back from the edge, because he's a good kid, really. So what they do is they give him 4 months in this old folks home, this retirement home, and they're like, you're going to work as a super in this retirement home and just go in there and look after these old people, and hopefully it'll change your ways a little bit. He gets there and he kind of becomes a little bit attached to some of the residents in the old folks home and actually begins to like what he's doing. However, he's also told by a couple of the other orderlies at the old folks home, do not go on the 4th floor. The 4th floor is out of bounds. And of course, when somebody says the 4th floor is out of bounds, where's the first place you're going to go? It's the 4th floor. And when he gets up there, there's all these weird patients that are kind of just pulling their own nails off, biting their hands, stabbing themselves in the eyes. They're all a bit messed up, and that's when the movie really kicks in to being the horror thriller that it's going to be. He knows there's something wrong here. Some of the residents are trying to tell him that there's something wrong. And then there's the orderlies and the guy that runs the place that are kind of look, don't ask too many questions. It's all good. He's beginning to realize that actually there's something not quite right, and we need to figure out what that is. There's this woman, this young girl who not a young girl, it's a young woman who starts to help him sort of unravel, tear at the thread and unravel. But of course, what we think is happening is not always what is actually happening, because you have to remember it's a horror thriller and we need to actually do something a little bit different with this, because who hasn't seen this kind of movie before? What I'm saying there is it's not the most original plot in the world, but what is original is its execution. I don't want to talk too much more about the plot because I am pretty much just going to get into spoiler territory and start ruining some of the twists, because believe me, there are a number of twists in this movie. Some of them great, some of them not so great. So let's talk about the cast and the crew. And I'm going to start with Pete Davidson because this is Pete Davidson's movie. I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of Pete Davidson's acting career, but I think this movie is where, for me, he changes the game a little bit. Because yes, he's doing his comedy, and yes, he's doing his wide boy routine. You know, he's not being too serious at times, but when this movie really needs heart and really needs that anchor for us to really latch onto and needs us to actually believe the character and want to root for the character, because Max is a very flawed character, but we do end up rooting for him because of the way Pete Davidson plays him. I think he's done a fantastic job here. And I know he has his demons in real life, and we know about them. They're all documented and things like that. But I think he's really drawn on some of those demons for this movie. It was multifaceted. I got behind it. So that when you get towards the end and you start getting the twists, you actually feel sorry for him when things start going wrong. You want him to win the day. You want him to get through this. You know, that's a really strong testament of the character. And in wrestling terms, they call that getting the character over. And Pete Davidson gets the character over in this movie. John Glover is in this movie. John Glover from Smallville fame. He played Lionel Luthor in Smallville. I haven't seen John Glover in anything for a while. Genuinely, again, loved what he was doing. Just this really weird, off-the-wall character. A lot like Lionel in certain ways. I'm not going to speak too much on his character because he does have some of the bigger twists in the movie. A lot of the twists come through him. But yeah, I was a big fan of what John Glover was doing here. At first, he was a bit weird, but I was there for it. Ethan Phillips, you may remember from Star Trek, I believe it was Voyager. He played Neelix. I used to love Neelix. Ethan Phillips is a great actor, and in this, he doesn't have a great deal to do, but he's dependable as hell, and I got on with the character. I really enjoyed him. Mary Beth Peil, I mean, she will always be Grams from Dawson's Creek to me, but in this, she's pretty much just Grams from Dawson's Creek again. But, and my God, does this woman not age? Because she's old. I'm not going to say old as hell in this movie, but she's really quite old in this movie, of course, because, you know, the years have gone by. But she's kind of the same age as she was in Dawson's Creek. She doesn't look that much older. She plays one of the patients or one of the women in the old folks home. She plays Norma, one of the characters that Pete Davidson really gravitates to and kind of gets the ball rolling in terms of storyline. And again, she was just excellent in what she was doing, and I fully bought into that character. Cast-wise, we do have a full ensemble of cast, and I do like what everyone's doing, especially when it comes to the end, because what this movie does is asks a lot of questions and asks you to think about a lot of questions and doesn't really answer all too many of them until the last 5-10 minutes, and then it starts to give you, oh, this is what's been going on, this is what's been happening, and that's when the movie really kicks into high gear. Because let's be honest, it's a slow burn. It's a very slow burn. That's one of the things that I really liked about the movie. But then you get to the last 5-10 minutes, and I kind of didn't like the slow burn, because what we got in the last 5-10 minutes was nuts. It just goes absolutely ham, starts throwing everything at the wall, and I was like, dude, I could have done with a lot more of this in this movie. This is sick. This is brilliant. So I could have done with a lot more of that at the end. What we got at the end, I could have done with a lot more of that going through. Director James DeMonaco has written a fantastic script, I believe with Alex Cantor as well. So they've written this really cool script together, and it, like I say, it opens up questions. It's kind of like a Stephen King kind of vibe. I was feeling sort of like The Shining and other things like that ilk, and it does have a very Stephen King tone to it, which is really cool, really awesome, and it even has that sort of twist that you would expect from a Stephen King movie. So it was cool to get all that. But James DeMonaco, I know he can write movies. As I say, Not everybody loves the Purge movies, and they're not everyone's cup of tea, but they're definitely my cup of tea. I love that concept, I love that idea, and I love this concept here. It's kind of got tinges of a lot of David Fincher movies, which I love David Fincher, a lot of Stephen King stories, so you mash them two together, and you've got a Stephen Kingian Fincher movie, which I am all about. Cinematography in this movie is really cool. It does live in sort of those long scoping, panning shots down hallways and looking out of windows and things like that. So I was really all about the cinematography. I think they've done a fantastic job, made the old folks' home look really cool and really gnarly. And then there's the score. Now, I've been picking up on scores a lot more recently, which is something that I've definitely not always been in tune with, but I realized the score a lot more in this movie because it's quite loud at times, quite jarring at times, and does take a little bit away from some of the scenes that we're in. Not too much, but there was moments where I kind of thought if you just tone down the score a little bit, sometimes less can be more. I also think it's a tad long. Like, maybe we could have lost about 5 minutes of this movie. Like I say, the movie does go absolutely bonkers towards the end. If we could have just got there a little bit sooner, I don't think we would have lost too much of the movie. So that's something else I wasn't too keen on. So I'm just going to move into my final Nerdly Presents Off the Reel review rating. And honestly, I had fun with this movie. I didn't think I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I thought Pete Davidson was excellent. I loved the ensemble cast of John Glover, Ethan Phillips, Bruce Altman, Victor Williams, Mary Beth Peil. Like, I genuinely loved this cast, and everybody brought a little bit something else to it. And when you think you know what's going on, but then you get the twist of what is actually going on, everybody just elevates and steps their game up that little bit more. So when you think about it again and you go back to certain scenes, you're like, oh, so that thing I thought they were doing, they totally weren't doing. Yeah, the makeup as well, the special effects and the makeup and everything like that is top notch. Everything works on that level as well. I just think this movie is really, really good fun. I can see a lot of people not being overly enthusiastic about it because it is a really slow burn thriller, and I mean it's a slow burn. But once you pick up to that point, it does kick into high gear, and you get some really, really cool Pete Davidson shit at the end of this movie. But I'm going to give it a 4. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because honestly, I did enjoy it. And the things that I have to say that are negative, they're not even that negative. You know, like, it could have been about 5 minutes shorter. It didn't. Like, it could have got to that action a little bit quicker. The slow burn nature of the movie, when you do get to the end and you get that like nuts bit, you kind of wish they did some of the nuts stuff earlier on. And they do a little bit of the nuts stuff early on, just not enough for my taste when you get there and it's like, oh, so that's what this movie's about. So yeah, I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 5. I think it's a really good watch. I think people will enjoy it. And if anything, just to see Grams from Dawson's Creek again, to see Neelix, to see Lionel Luthor, and most of all, to see Pete Davidson putting in a hella good performance. I'd love to see more of this kind of Pete Davidson routine so we can see just how good he is. I feel like we've maybe just scratched the surface. For now, my name has been Kevin Halden. Please do all those wonderful, awesome things. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, ding that notification bell. It will let you know whenever I drop a new video, whether it's an interview, review, or anything like that. So please do come back and check out more. Hit me in the comments down below if you see The Home. Let me know what you thought of this movie, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, why you think all those things. But most of all, just come back, just pass on, let people know about what we do over here. Go over to nerdly.co.uk, your favourite British website, full of your news, reviews and exclusive interviews. But for now, The Home gets a 4 out of 5 from me. Check it out, watch it, I think you'll enjoy it. And if you don't, well, I'm sorry. But remember guys, if I don't see you in the cinema, I'll see you in the next review.